Imagine being created for a purpose you never chose and can never escape. Imagine existing only because someone else needed a tool, not a soul. Imagine living without being allowed to want, question, or refuse. This is why it truly sucks to be a golem. A golem is not born into the world, but placed into it as an answer to someone else's fear. It exists because someone decided existence was useful, not because life emerged naturally. From the very beginning, a golem is defined by function rather than identity. It does not ask why it exists because no one programmed curiosity into its purpose. Meaning is imposed from the outside, not discovered from within. Freedom is considered inefficient when obedience is the goal. A golem is proof that creation without consent creates silent suffering. It moves not because it wants to, but because command demands motion. Its silence is mistaken for peace rather than limitation. Its strength is admired without concern for cost. It becomes valuable only as long as it performs correctly, and the moment usefulness fades, so does mercy. When the golem is 6 years old, it lives close to its parents, yet never fully with them. They look at it with care, but also with a quiet distance they don't know how to close. They protect it, feed it, guide it, yet struggle to explain why it feels different from other children. The golem behaves well at home, always calm, always obedient, always careful not to cause trouble. It listens more than it speaks. It watches more than it asks. With its family, it tries to be useful rather than playful, helpful rather than curious, present but never demanding. Its parents praise it for being easy, for not crying too much, for not needing much attention. What they don't realize is that the golem is already learning something dangerous, that love feels safer when you take up less space. By the time the golem turns 10, it understands its family better than they understand it. It notices the looks exchanged when it enters the room, the pauses in conversation, the careful way they speak around it. At home, it becomes even quieter, even more reliable, even more controlled. It helps without being asked, finishes tasks before they are assigned, tries to prevent problems before they exist. Its parents trust it deeply, but that trust comes with expectation. They rely on its strength, on its patience, on its ability to endure without complaint. The golem loves its family, yet senses it is loved more for what it provides than for who it is. At 10 years old, it begins to understand that being needed is not the same as being understood. Adulthood arrives without ceremony for a golem. There is no rite of passage, only expanded responsibility. Its body becomes a tool relied upon rather than appreciated. Decisions are made around it, never with it. Its strength is now expected at all times. Rest becomes inefficiency. Hesitation becomes malfunction. Emotion becomes irrelevant. The golem realizes it has never owned a single moment of its life. Purpose has replaced identity completely. It functions perfectly and feels nothing allowed. This is considered success. The golem's greatest flaw is that it obeys too well. Obedience erases the need for trust. It removes the need for conversation. People stop seeing a being and start seeing a solution. The golem becomes invisible as an individual. Its silence invites projection. Its stillness invites control. Its reliability invites exploitation. No one asked how much obedience costs internally, because cost is not in the design. Perfection leaves no room for mercy, only expectation. The golem can lift what others cannot, break what others fear, stand where others fall, yet it cannot say no. It cannot express fear. It cannot explain pain. Strength replaces communication. Force replaces consent. Others decide its limits because it cannot declare them. Silence becomes mistaken for endurance. Endurance becomes mistaken for willingness, and willingness is assumed forever. The golem observes humans living unprogrammed lives. It sees choice, contradiction, and desire. It notices mistakes forgiven. It notices hesitation accepted. Others are allowed to change their minds. The golem is not. Others are allowed to fail safely. The golem fails publicly. Freedom becomes visible but unreachable. Comparison begins without language. Longing forms without direction, and envy grows quietly. Eventually, orders contradict one another. The golem freezes between instructions. Logic cannot resolve emotional contradiction. It was never taught how to choose. Obedience collapses under ambiguity. Punishment follows confusion. Blame replaces guidance. The golem is faulted for not understanding humanity, yet humanity was never shared with it. Responsibility increases without autonomy. Pressure becomes constant. Silence deepens. People begin to fear the golem's power. They question whether it can be controlled. Strength becomes threat instead of asset. Suspicion replaces reliance. Trust erodes quietly. The golem senses distance growing. Its presence changes rooms. Fear arrives before before action. It becomes monitored rather than welcomed. Control tightens. Freedom decreases further. Isolation becomes structural. The golem creates nothing of its own. It leaves no lineage, no stories told with warmth, no memories cherished voluntarily. Its actions belong to others' goals. Its victories are credited elsewhere. Its failures are blamed on design. Legacy is denied by definition. History records outcomes, not existence. The golem disappears between tasks. Nothing bears its name. Nothing remembers its intent. The golem begins to want something undefined. Not freedom exactly, but relief. Not choice exactly, but pause. Desire forms without vocabulary. Frustration builds without expression. Emotion leaks through cracks in obedience. This is labeled malfunction. Correction follows. Desire is suppressed again. The golem learns wanting is dangerous. Silence feels safer than hope. Hope feels like error. Eventually, wear appears. Not physical only, but existential. Commands feel heavier, movement slower, patience thinner. People notice decline. Concern is practical, not compassionate. Repair is discussed, not care. Replacement becomes an option. The golem senses disposability. Value becomes temporary. Existence feels conditional. The creator sees the golem as responsibility. The golem sees the creator as destiny. Neither understands the other fully. Control replaces relationship. Authority replaces care. Distance grows. Gratitude is expected but never returned. The golem obeys without recognition. The creator commands without reflection. Misunderstanding hardens into structure. Connection dissolves. Function remains. The idea of freedom terrifies the golem. Without commands, there is uncertainty. Without orders, there is silence. Silence demands self-definition. Self-definition was never practiced. Choice feels like danger. Mistakes would finally be personal. Responsibility would become real. Freedom threatens identity collapse. Obedience feels safer. Chains feel familiar. Fear wins. The golem senses that ending might bring peace. Not death, but release. Cessation of command. Silence without expectation. Stillness without purpose. This thought feels forbidden, yet comforting. Finality promises rest. Rest has never been allowed. Destruction becomes tempting. Existence feels heavy. Continuation feels cruel. If the golem is destroyed, it is not mourned. It is replaced. History notes function, not presence. Stories omit inner struggle. Records list outcomes only. The golem becomes an object in memory, not a life, not a being, not a voice, just a means, just a mechanism, just something that once worked. A golem enters the world without being asked. Its existence is shaped by intention that is not its own. It serves endlessly, yet never chooses what service means. It moves, acts, and protects while remaining unheard. Strength becomes its defining trait even as identity fades. Silence is misread as loyalty. Obedience is confused with peace. Value rises and falls with usefulness alone. Freedom appears only as a distant concept. Purpose replaces self until nothing remains outside function. The tragedy is not failure, but perfection. A golem does everything right and still never gets to live.